Hi, this is Carl Dobrowolski with Missions Triangle, and I'm with Eddie Brown of Together in Grace. Eddie participated at the Missions Triangle event that we held on October the 28th. We had a blessed time. Eddie led us in prayer at one point, spoke about his ministry, and we invited him today so that he could tell us more about Together in Grace. But Eddie, one, welcome. Two, could you give us just your observations of your time at Missions Triangle?
Yeah, I deeply appreciated, benefited from Missions Triangle. I thought it would be good. I knew it was being planned well, uh, and I knew people were praying for it. Um, but it was better than I expected, as the Lord often
Thank the
does.
Lord.
I found it very beneficial to be around brothers and sisters from numerous churches, um, and because of that, I'm looking forward to all the steps up to Mission Triangle 2024. I'm excited about that, and Lord willing, gives me life. I want to be there and to be part of that in any way I can, small or big. I'm small,
Amen.
probably not big, but small. I'm glad to do that.
Oh,
It's a great,
Well,
was a great thing. Thanks to all who did so much great work and brought people together.
amen. Thank you for that, Eddie. We want you to be part of that, and you were a blessing. You were a blessing. You were an encourager from the very beginning, and most of all, thank you for the prayer covering because we felt that the Lord was present from the very beginning, and the fellowship was sweet. And November 1 and 2, 2024, location to be determined. On November 1st, we'll have a meeting for pastors and mission leaders. And on November the 2nd, we'll have a full day, 9 to 2. And we'll have local speakers as well as speakers from organizations out of town, and you all will be blessed. But today, we want to find out more about Eddie and his longstanding ministry. So, Eddie, tell us about yourself and Together in Grace.
Yeah, I've been in ministry for over 40 years. Various locations, inner city work in North Jersey and the New York metro area for 9 years total. Up there, been involved in work with medium-sized churches on the pastoral staff in Kenya. So we served as missionaries for 4 years. Also, church planting. I am married 46 years to my wife, Gail. We have two children, grown children, and two glorious grandsons. And I was reading this morning in the Psalms, children are heritage from the Lord, and how blessed it is to see your children's children. And I had written in the margin, thank you, Jesus. He allowed
Amen.
us to see our grandchildren. That's a great gift. So that's something about who I am. Um, I'm director of Together in Grace. I'm also the dishwasher and whatever else Together in Grace needs. Uh, after these years of ministry, I thought, I've ministered in a lot of different places to a lot of different people. I didn't mention things like mentoring and teaching pastors in Russia and Guatemala. Also, not living there long term, but doing that. So I thought, I've been in a medium-sized church. I've church planted. I've been in the inner city. I've been in the foreign mission field. I've worked with all kinds of ethnic groups, which I greatly enjoy. Various kind of churches. And so I thought, well, maybe this last bit of runway. And of course, we never know what God's going to do and call us to, but deeply felt called to use this, not because I've been some celebrity pastor or in some mega church. I am a very ordinary pastor, and most pastors are very ordinary pastors. Most churches are small churches. God bless those who have the larger churches. That's wonderful. But most of us don't live in that space. And so that's where I've lived. And so I just had a deep desire in my heart to, as I'm tasked with in Together in Grace, to come alongside those who are in ministry. And to do that through face-to-face meetings, prayer, teaching, discipleship, but mainly face-to-face meetings, which can occur in different ways,
Yes.
and prayer, praying for and praying with all groups of people in ministry. Really, I say pastor, and there's mostly pastors. I have a number of contacts with missionaries. Sometimes it's just responding to their prayer letter or to a specific prayer need they shot out in a blast email. And just to return an email to them and to offer a prayer for them about that, and to put them on my prayer list, to let them know I'm praying with them. The bottom line is people say, well, what do you do? And I say, I have coffee with pastors. And that really is greatly true. I have coffee with pastors.
Yeah. And pastors need that encouragement. They're busy. They're busy tending their flock, meeting their needs, praying for them. But who will pray for the pastors? Who will be the pastor's friend? Who will pastor the pastors? It seems like Together in Grace, it fills that gap. Eddie, tell us about what you experienced when you gave a little testimony of Together in Grace at Missions Triangle, and then someone came up to you and said what?
Yeah, a few years ago, several years ago, in fact, the Lord impressed on me that He wanted me to write handwritten letters to pastors, and very specifically include an address in that letter pastors' wives. And so I've been doing that for 7 or 8 years, and my handwriting is atrocious, and handwritten letters for me are not efficient. But as wise people have said, love is not efficient. Love takes time. So I want them to know that I haven't just sat down and typed something or given them my standard letter, but I've written to them. So I did share that at Mission Triangle this year, and a young lady came up to me. I didn't know her, and she said, "It's so good to put a face with a name." The place she knew my name from was a letter that I'd written to her and her husband, who is an associate pastor in a Raleigh area church. And she was a little weepy and said, "I want to thank you so much for that letter." And I had a friend of mine recently say, "I've been in ministry for 25 years. No one has ever written a letter to my wife. No one." And so it's a simple thing, writing a letter, a handwritten letter, and including the spouse, who is often behind the scenes, doesn't really have a voice. Sometimes they're not supposed to have a voice, almost. And I think to hear from someone who's been there. I'm married to a pastor's wife. I know how it can be. Sometimes I say being a pastor is tough. Being a pastor's wife sometimes is tougher. So that simple thing is very gratifying. And again, I believe the Lord did impress on me that's what He wanted me to do. So in that very simple way, writing a letter doesn't sound very impressive, but if it touches hearts, then I'm all for that.
Yeah. As we conclude, encouragement is such a gift. Is such a gift. There are people that are going into trials, coming out of trials, in between troubles. There are burdens on their shoulders, and it takes a little sacrifice. But noticing someone like the pastor's wife and encouraging the pastor, so key, particularly if we're a benefit from their ministry. As we conclude, what would be your encouragement to everyone for us to do today, perhaps? And number two, what should the church know as a final note? What should the church or a pastor know about Together in Grace?
Yeah. Church people, members, can pray for their pastor. That's the number one thing, because God answers prayer.
Amen.
Asking God to do something.
Amen.
And I think to pray that God himself would encourage the pastor,
Yes.
would encourage the pastor's wife, would put courage in their hearts, enable them to draw courage. Then when you see your pastor, greet him well. Thank you. If you're sending an email that you didn't like something in the sermon, maybe think before you hit send, as I often say.
Yes.
No sermon is perfect. No pastor is perfect. Every sermon is not going to be a home run. A pastor is not going to be able to cover everything. So be gentle, be encouraging, be in prayer. And by the way, when you pray for your pastor consistently, that is going to change how you treat your pastor, how you approach your pastor, your empathy for your pastor. Not that your pastor is perfect. That's a challenging job. And I think for the church, simply to know about Together in Grace is, as I've shared, who I am and what I do. I haven't hung out a shingle somewhere saying, come to me and give me a fee. I go to pastors. There's no money involved in that. I raise support so I can do this ministry and be free of that. I'm grateful for my supporters, but I consider myself a missionary to pastors, and so I'm here. Some friend of mine used to always say the best ability is availability. I'm available to have coffee with your pastor, to be their friend. I'm not even so much a mentor, but an encourager. Someone, I'll pray with them, I'll pray for them, I'll laugh with them, I'll cry with them. I've been there. I, at least to some degree, understand that. So I think that's what I would say.
And so how would someone tell us how we can get in touch with you?
Well, that's a good question. I can give you my details.
Okay.
If you'd like.
All right. What we'll do is give us your website address, and then when I send this out to everyone, I'll include all of the vital information that you send me.
Well, I can give you my email and phone.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, thank you so much for advising us about Together in Grace, how important it is, a ministry that ministers to the heart, to the pastor, and gives him, I love the way you put it, to give him courage, him and his family courage, and that comes through our love and prayers as God ministers to the pastor. Thank you, Eddie, and we look forward to further conversation with you, seeing you at and others at the Missions Triangle meet and greet Thursday, December 14th at 7 p.m. Coffee and refreshments provided. Come, meet, pray, network, learn, and encourage someone else. Look forward to seeing you there. Thank you again, Eddie, and God bless you.
God bless you, Carl. Thank you.